What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fixed Setup Weekly, taking a look at Week 7, covering July 26th through August 2nd. This week has, well, some interesting combinations. We've got ARCA at New Hampshire, C Fixed at Phoenix Raceway, and then B Fixed and A Fixed both make their trip to iRacing Superspeedway. Speaking of last week, that's where we had C Fixed, was at iRacing Superspeedway, and it did not look very fun from what I saw on Twitter, what I saw from people who came into chat over on Twitch. Not a lot of very positive stories, I guess you could say, about C Fixed at iRacing Superspeedway, and I would venture to guess that this week, with both B Fixed and A Fixed there, that trend's probably going to continue. I remember not that long ago when B Fixed went to iRacing Superspeedway, it had an issue with bottoming out, going into the turns and making people's cars just snap right around on corner entry, causing huge wrecks. I'll be curious to see if they've remedied that. We'll find out a little bit later in the video. Since we're on the topic of the video, it seemed like most of you really liked the new format that I rolled out for last week. The a little more informal way of doing things, a little less editing, and a little more focus on the actual content, the data, and me just logging laps on camera talking about things. It seemed to be a big hit. Everyone really seemed to like that, and so I appreciate the feedback. It was good to see positive reactions to that, and that'll be a trend that will continue going forward until I figure out a better way to do everything. But for now, expect to see more of that, and I'm excited to do it that way. Just, I think, builds a better connection with all of you. It allows you to see how I go about making laps and get my thoughts in real time as I'm driving. But again, it puts the most important thing front and center. That's information and data, the things that you need to help understand what you're getting into when you do these races and how you can improve to get better results. So with all that said, let's take a look at Week 7. Welcome to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We are back at this track. Seems like we were just here for C Fixed, B Fixed, and A Fixed because, well, we were. But now we're here for ARCA, and this is a little bit of an oddity. I've been doing some test laps just to dial in the settings and see what I like best. I really don't know, to be honest with you. This is a tough one. It's complicated because you can shift, and that's unfortunate. So for my initial run here, just trying to get some sort of pace and understand what I want to run for a race, I'm going with 14:1 steering ratio. I put the steering offset to -10. That really helped to get the steering wheel more or less level when I'm going down the straightaway. By default, it's off to the right a little bit, so if you don't like that, if you want the steering wheel to be straight when you're on the straightaway, put it to around -10 or so. You'll have to play around with it. I dropped the brake bias down to 65%. This setup is tight. It's loose on exit on throttle if you're too harsh on the throttle, but overall, the setup is tight. So you're going to want to drop that brake bias. It'll help the car rotate on corner entry, and for that first 25% while you're still losing speed before you get to the center of the corner and you want to start rolling the center on throttle. So drop that brake bias a little bit. Where I'm really torn right now is on steering ratio, because I've driven 12:1 and I've driven 14:1. 12 definitely was more responsive, but it was hurting the right front tire. Dropping it to 14:1, or raising it to 14:1, depending on how you look at it, helped with the right front tire wear. It evened it out, but I felt a little bit slower. So it might be a compromise of what you want. Do you want better tire wear if you're bad on right front tire wear, or do you want to be a little bit quicker and have to dial it back a little bit to try and not burn up the right front? That's what you're going to have to figure out this week in your own practice. Let's take a look at New Hampshire Motor Speedway from the ARCA car. If you didn't do any of the C Fixed, B Fixed, or A Fixed from last week, then you haven't seen this before. So this is New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's also known as the Magic Mile. It's a flat 1-mile oval. It's got progressive banking. So what that means is that the bottom of the racetrack is less banked than the top. I think it's 2 degrees on the bottom and 7 degrees up top, if memory serves correctly. But the rule of thumb here is you never want to be down here. Despite what you saw in real life in the Cup Series, what guys like Kevin Harvick were doing when they were driving. You can't really do that in iRacing. There's just not enough grip. You get down here and the rear end just gets really light. Now, you might be able to do it a little bit on corner exits, but you don't want to enter down there. You want to enter, you know, somewhere up here or a little bit lower and graze those left side tires on those first dashed lines. And you can see right there I got loose as I just held the throttle down to drive it off the corner. That's what you got to deal with. It's, you know, typical ARCA. This kind of racetrack is all about rolling the center, carrying speed in the center of the corner to get a good exit. And if you can do that, you're going to beat people all day long. But if you do it too much, you're going to melt your right front tire and you're going to get absolutely smoked out here. So this is one of those tracks where backing up your corner entry, meaning braking a little bit earlier, goes a long way in helping that right front tire. Because if you bomb it off in here at a higher speed, thinking you're going to get under somebody or past somebody, all you're doing is hurting your tires. If I learned anything from doing C-fixed, B-fixed, and A-fixed at New Hampshire, it's that people will absolutely dive bomb corner entry, wash up in the center of the corner, door you, and keep on going, but you're going to go into the wall. Try and avoid that. Don't run up high. You try to enter it really low down here. You got to cut a lot of speed and weight, and the car just wants to push out up a lane anyways. So you really don't want to use that very bottom lane to try and pass somebody. The only way that I can really see it being viable, let's see if I can do it here. Sail it off here above the first dash line. Wait, stand on it, pull it to the bottom. Yeah, even then, it really doesn't like that. So I think your best play is to just be right here. Left side's on that first dash line or right up here in the second dash line. That's pretty much the sweet spot, I think, at this track. Looking at the tire wear after that little run, you know, you can see the right front is still wearing faster than the right rear. And that's just how you treat the car while cornering. If you carry too much speed and you're waiting and waiting and turning and turning and turning, you know, you're just hurting that right front tire. So that's why I think, especially since the setup is tight, it doesn't want to turn naturally. It needs a lot of help to turn. It needs a lot of steering wheel, needs to cut a lot of speed. I really think that running a higher ratio to help the right front wear is going to be important. You're just going to have to realize you have to slow down a little bit to make that work the best. Long race, no caution flags. I think that that's going to be the play. You might have to give up a little bit of speed in the short run, but I think that will pay off with long run speed. And if you've done ARCA races, especially these types of tracks, and you see those people who are behind you, and then somehow, some way, they're passing you, and they're gone. You want to be like those people, right? We all want to be like those people. I think if you back up your corner entry, meaning you start braking a little bit earlier than you normally would, carry less speed through the corners, and take care of those right front tires, I think you can be that person. You may have noticed from my qualifying lap that I was using the third groove on entry. That is in my opinion, what I found through all the laps that I made, that was the best way to go to carry mid-corner speed and get the best exit as well. When I say the third groove, what I mean is this groove right here. This is the third groove. Okay, the first groove is below those first dash lines. Second groove is one lane over, and we are in the third groove. You enter here, you can carry a lot of speed through here. Don't be up here in this, I don't know what this is, why it's colored differently. I guess that's how it is in real life, right? It's a different mixture of asphalt and granite, or I don't know what, but don't be up here. You want to be right here in this groove, and then you can pull it to the bottom and get a good drive off. Now, you saw that I lost speed coming out of 2 on my hot lap, so I know I can put down a better lap, and I'm sure you'll beat it, but that's really the lane that you want to run in, is enter here and carry that speed through this groove, and then you can pull it to the bottom and try and hold on to complete the lap. That's really the way to go. And that might be the best way to go in the race as well. You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to put in the time to research, test, experiment, and practice. I think the drivers that try and just hold the bottom and roll the bottom are going to tear up their right front tires doing that. They're going to get terrible drive off the corner, and it's just not going to go well for them. You're going to have better mid-corner speed, but you give it all up on exit because you can't get back to the throttle. So that might be the best way to go about it. Now, I want to talk about the other point that I brought up at the start of this segment, shifting. Is it faster? Maybe. It might be in the short run, and it may be good in the long run too. I don't know. But people will be trying it. I can all but guarantee you. Here's the issue with shifting this week. The 8,000 RPM rev limiter is an issue because you're going to bounce off of that if you get a good exit before you get to the straightaway. And you're probably going to do that because it gets really, really loose. So you have to remember, if you're shifting, you have to remember to shift to fourth before you get to the straightaway. Like that. Now, I can already see somebody out there this week is going to think they're really smart, really clever, downshift into third, and then for whatever reason, they're not going to be able to get it into fourth. Either they forget or they miss a shift or whatever, and you're going to be the driver right behind them. And when they don't accelerate, you're going to have nowhere to go except right into their butt. Wreck them, probably wreck yourself. Just be aware of what's going on around you. And if you're the one who's shifting this week, don't forget to shift back to fourth. Welcome to my home racetrack, Phoenix Raceway, home of C Fixed this week. And if you don't like shifting, I got bad news for you. You absolutely have to shift and C Fixed. It's been that way for a while now. Nothing's changed here. Truck drives pretty nicely. It's a little bit on the snug side on entry, but a lot of that can be because of overdriving. Corner entry, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be doing this week. It rotates well in the center of the corner, gets out of the corners pretty nice. Maybe touch free on exit if you're aggressive with the throttle. But overall, not bad. But the really key thing this week is shifting. You're going to have to do it, especially in 1 and 2. 3 and 4, I'm not so sold on it being necessary, especially on fresh tires. Maybe as the run goes on, you'll have to. But, yep, that's going to be the key to victory this week, is being comfortable shifting. Taking a look at the setup here, Phoenix 2012 is what we're using. That's the only Phoenix setup available. So this is Phoenix Raceway circa 2012. I'm using a 12-to-1 steering ratio. I put the steering offset to -2, and I dropped the brake bias. That's the big one this week, is that brake bias. I put that to 57%. You really, really need that help. More rear brake helps the truck turn on entry, takes the load off the right front. But backing up corner entry is the best thing you can do. As far as the race, I would say start with these settings and see how that goes for you. Practice with this first. Try 14-1 on the steering ratio as well. That'll certainly help right front tire wear, but it may not feel as responsive. It just really comes down to what you like to feel. But for me, these are the settings I'm going to use. Let's hit the track and see what she looks like. We got the AI out here. These are not real people that I'm racing against. As you can see, this is the open dogleg layout. You will see everybody using this dogleg at some point or another, using the entire area to pass, defend, get crazy, whatever. So unlike Phoenix as we know it today, this is the front stretch still. As we head off into turn 1, there's some cones that come out of the fence to help you with braking points. You don't have to shortcut the backstretch, especially when you're not in traffic or you're not trying to pass. You really don't have to. 3 and 4, you want to keep it right on the bottom here, and she might get a touch loose like that. Just let her ease out towards the wall. And around the 2 cone on the fence is about where you want to start getting to the brakes. Downshift it. And that's pretty much Phoenix. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. You're going to make your passes down the straightaways, getting underneath somebody because the outside lane is pretty tough to hold for a while. Now, depending on how hard you pinch, you can make the top side work, but it will be harder on your tires. Now, I want to show you the power of shifting versus not shifting when it comes to lap time. So there we shifted in 1 and 2. We'll finish this lap, see what the lap time is. 28.22. Now, without shifting, look at how much time I'm giving up. This is compared to last lap that you see on screen. I'm already 2/10 off my last lap without shifting. Again, 3 and 4, it's not as necessary. It might be as the run goes on, but while you have fresh tires, I don't think it's as important. 28.5. Now, that wasn't a very good lap, apparently, because I just picked up a 10th by hitting the line in 1 and 2. That's the other thing. If you don't hit the line, your lap time is going to suffer a lot. Phoenix is a very line-sensitive racetrack. If you're not on the bottom in 1 and 2, forget it. And you're going to see a lot of people struggle to hit this bottom because they're overdriving corner entry. We look at the tire wear after that run, and yeah, it's hurting the right front. 3% more worn than the right rear. Was I overdriving corner entry? Yeah, I was in turn 1. Absolutely. Probably could have backed up 3 and 4 a little bit as well. But that's going to be what's going to prevail, I think, this week. I think that's going to be the most common complaint, is people just burning off the right front. So how do you overcome that? I think steering ratio is going to help. Probably 14-1 for the race. That brake bias is going to be important, but the easiest thing you can do is just go slower into the corners. Back up that corner entry by 100 feet, 150 feet. If you can do so safely, and be gentle with that throttle pedal. That's the best thing that you can do. let's see what a race might look like. Now, the big difference is with the AI, they're not going to take the dogleg and shortcut it. Everybody that you race against probably will, and it'll be chaotic. So that'll be the big difference here, but at least you'll get a sense of green flag conditions here at Phoenix as the outside lane checks up horrifically.
Got one outside.
Oh boy, oh boy. I mean, the AI, they're not perfect, okay? But it's better than nothing. Yeah, you'd see everybody just dive down here and make it like, oh God, make it like 5 wide and stuff. This is exciting. Now, right now, I'm using 14 to 1. I think it's probably going to be better than the 12 to 1 that I used in the first part of this C-Fix segment. I think it'll go a long way in saving that right front tire more. And it doesn't feel slower to me. It feels fine.
Got one outside.
I like how they lift.
Clear.
Not very realistic. Nobody lifts in iRacing. So yeah, C-Fix, Phoenix Raceway. It's going to be one of those weeks. A lot of crashes, a lot of chaos. But if you practice and you get a sense of how to drive this track, get comfortable with downshifting, and how to save that right front tire, Phoenix can be a really fun racetrack to race on with the right group of people. Will you always get the right group of people? No. But if something goes wrong, well, you can always just get a hold of this guy right here, Mr. Nimcross, and protest somebody. That's what he takes care of. Hey, Nim. Protest this. Welcome to iRacing Superspeedway, home of the memes and home to B Fixed and A Fixed this week. If you've never raced at iRacing Superspeedway before, it is a gigantic track that you drive flat out all the way around. It has a ton of banking, ton of speed, and a ton of netcode issues. But if you're brave enough to do this week and you want to start up front, I'll show you a hot lap. Loading into the garage here, 14 to 1 steering ratio. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff. I mean, you can adjust the offset if you want to. I think the steering wheel's off to the right a little bit, so you can always put some negative, make it a smaller number to rotate it to the left a little bit if you'd like to. It doesn't really bother me. Brake bias doesn't matter if you're touching the brakes on a qualifying lap. You got bigger problems. Okie dokie. Now, first things first at iRacing Superspeedway, got to stay on the flat until the backstretch as you get up to speed. The flat is very flat, and actually you got to slow down. Do not touch these yellow lines to the right of the car. Do not touch those, or they will tell you to go restart your lap, and that's not good. So you got to sort of pedal it down here. And you can get up into the gas and get going. Ease the car up onto the track on the backstretch. And you just sort of want to ride in this groove right here. Not quite up against the wall, but around this lane between these two seams. Somewhere around here. Just right around here. Follow this seam around the racetrack. As we get up to speed on the green flag lap, all the way around to the money lap. All right, coming to start our money lap here.
One more lap.
As we do at super speedways, you want to let the car naturally drift its way down, pointed towards the bottom of the entry of turn 1. Be right there as soon as you hit the entry with as little steering input as possible so you're not scrubbing speed. Hold it around the bottom and then work its way up to the middle on exits. Again, not to scrub speed. and let it ride in the middle of the track all the way down the backstretch. And again, let it drift, point itself towards the bottom going into 3. Right there, right on the yellow line. Hold it on the yellow line all the way through. And let it just come up out of the banking onto the front straightaway. And you complete the lap. There you go. Fun.
That's the checkered flag.
47,209 in the advanced GG Chevrolet. Well, we didn't win pole. But we weren't last either. As far as the race goes, it'll be up to you on steering ratio, what you want to run. I recommend running the lowest that you can run without being, you know, all over the place, weeble wobble, herky-jerky. It's tough in these cars. The banking is so steep. Once you get to it, a lot of people miss it. They don't have enough steering wheel input into it, and they shoot up the track, and if they're on the bottom, they'll hit the middle lane and wreck them, or if they're in the middle lane, they'll shoot up towards the wall. It's just, it's tough. Whatever allows you to be the most smooth around here, that's what you need to use. For the sake of this footage, I'll just keep it on 14-1. At iRacing Superspeedway, at the start of every race, you'll start here on the front straightaway at an angle. It looks cool, but it can be kind of chaotic if people aren't accustomed to it. If they're not used to it, they start going too soon. Rule of thumb is don't start moving forward until the driver next to you starts moving forward. You get yourself formed up, and you do a very, very long pace lap. While we got a little time before the green flag, an issue last season when BFix came to iRacing Superspeedway was that the cars would bottom out on corner entry, and when they bottomed out, the cars would just snap with no warning, no ability to save it, you're just along for the ride, and you would spin out and wreck. I saw that. I experienced it myself multiple times. I saw it multiple times. I don't know if they've fixed it. I don't know. I have no knowledge of this. My hope is that they fixed it. As we go racing here, perhaps, you know, I'll be able to see if it does or does not bottom out. But it was random. But when you did it, you were goner. So we'll see if they fix that for this year. As far as starts and restarts, first gear is a little bit tall. You're really high up into the rev range. I would recommend starting in second gear for these. And let's get going with the AI cars.
Green flag, 5 laps to go.
As you can see, this is a big wide track. You got a lot of options here as far as where you want to go. But the fastest way is usually on the bottom. You can use the outside lane to get a good run off the corners and down the straightaways, but in the turns, the bottom lane absolutely has the advantage because it's just the shorter way around. Oh boy, I don't know what happened up there. You won't see that in the race, I promise you that. That's that's just the AI racing. It's really not good. But you get the idea. You get a sense of what it's like. Long straightaways, 245 miles an hour, and then you get into the turns and it's sudden. Okay, the AI are terrible here. What the hell? Oh, hello.
Outside, stop.
Now the scariest thing and the thing that is the most challenging for people is when they're on the bottom and they're like the second car in line, third car in line. It's really hard to enter these corners on the bottom. It's easy to miss it and drift up and hit the car next to you, but it's even easier. I'm watching what's happening here with 3 wide. It's even easier to actually enter on the apron, and then bad things happen. You enter down here, you hit the apron, and you're just along for the ride at that point. It'll upset the car so much. Oh my God, he drove over me. Oh, that was incredible. That dude just drove over me. Oh, he's on his lid. Ah, that's great. Classic. iRacing Superspeedway in a nutshell. And finally, A fixed also at iRacing Superspeedway. We've got the Advanced GG Chevy Camaro ZL1. Let's head out to the track for a hot lap. Before we do, let's take a look at the wheel settings. I found 12-1 to be really good for qualifying. It's responsive enough that the car will turn when you need it to, but still smooth enough where you're not going to be scrubbing a whole lot of speed if you're smooth with the steering wheel. Offset seems to be fine where it is, and brake bias, don't worry about brake bias. Now, if you missed my B-Fix tutorial, which I don't know why you would, as you pull away from pit road here, it is very flat, very slow, and you do not want to cross or touch these yellow lines to the right of the car. It'll give you an early merge and make you restart the lap. So just keep it down here, around 130 miles an hour or so on the apron. And you can get yourself up to speed. Once you're past the blue cone, ease it up onto the back straightaway. And ride right in, this area on this seam. You don't have to be up against the wall. You don't need to be there. You can follow this seam all the way around the track. As we get up to speed, come to the green flag, all the way through the green flag lap, and then coming to take the white flag for the money lap. Coming to start the fast lap once we get past the flag stand here. Just let the car naturally drift down the banking without any wheel input so that the car is on the bottom as we start into turn one. Right on the yellow line, all the way through. Let the car ease up into about the middle of the straightaway here. And same thing as we get closer to turn three, let the banking carry the car towards the bottom. No steering wheel input. So we enter in on the bottom of three. That's a little high. But keep it right on the bottom there. And that'll be the lap. Look, Ma, no hands. All right, let's see the lap time here. Ran a 46.139. 46.139. I bet you can go faster. Just like in B Fixed, all races here at iRacing Superspeedway, you start on the front stretch at an angle. The good rule of thumb is don't start moving until the car next to you starts moving. It'll cut down on the chaos and confusion as people start rolling, get the running order all jumbled up. Now, two things to note here in A Fixed. One, you've got the Cup Car aerodynamic package. So if you ran Talladega, if you've run Daytona, in these cars, they have that updated aero model where your car generates a bubble of air in front of it, and you will actually push the car in front of you away, depending on how close you are to them, what the run is like, and all of that. That's why you see these races typically get single file around the bottom, because if you pull out to pass, generally you're just going to the back. Nobody's going to go with you. You can't really push forward and form other lanes with this package. So something to keep an eye on at iRacing Superspeedway. It's probably going to be much of the same. The other thing that you're going to have to keep an eye on are your temperatures, that oil temperature and that water temperature on the right hand side of the heads-up display. Turn a lot of RPMs around here. Got to keep an eye on your temperatures. Second gear starts as well, important to note. Second gear start,
green flag,
and we're rolling. But there was an update that made these cars overheat faster. So you're only going to be able to push for a short period of time before your temperatures really become problematic.
Outside.
Now, the AI are going to race a little bit differently than you'll see with your human counterparts this week.
Outside.
But the draft model remains the same. You're not going to get the big suck and the big run like you used to be able to. But once you get the suck and the run, you really can't go anywhere with it. Oh, they are doing things. Oh my goodness.
Outside.
So it'll be interesting to see this week how the draft package works at this track with this car. Look at the RPMs I'm turning. Without a strong draft, I'm over 9,000. It's a lot. But keep an eye on your temperatures and be mindful of the aero bubble in front of you. Yeah, I get to the back of this guy, my run stops, and I start to push him away. I never lifted or feathered the throttle. That's just the aero model at work. You don't really get the run up to people and then to their bumper to push them anymore. You get to them, and then you push them away with that bubble. The only way that you can do anything is to pierce that bubble to get to their bumper and then push them for a short period of time. But you can see how much slower it is up top. So I think, just based off of what I've seen here, I think it's going to be mostly single file around the bottom, which is unfortunate because that's not very fun. But that's what it's going to be. If I'm wrong, but I don't...
Outside.
It's hard to imagine it being anything else. Now see, I pierce this guy's bubble, and I get to his back bumper and shove him. But watch my temperature skyrocket.
Around the bottom, 3 wide. Outside. Still there.
I mean, I gained like 20 degrees of temperature in a very short period of time. Now, it's not so easy to pass the or push the AI cars as it is somebody else. But it's a fine line between pushing that car away and piercing the bubble to get to their back bumper to shove them. If you've run, you know, Daytona, if you've run Talladega, this will feel very familiar to you.
White flag next time I strike.
You can definitely side draft as well. The side draft is in effect to slow people down, pull them back, side draft their quarter panel. But when two people get side by side, it'll slow down the whole line. And you can lose that lead pack very easily, just like we've done here. A little bit of racing, and all of a sudden we lost that lead pack.
Got one inside. There's the bottom. Outside. Inside.
There you go. That's a fix at iRacing Superspeedway. We managed not to crash. That's not fun.
After the checkered flag.
Oh, I didn't crash. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Terrible crash. Oh, my goodness gracious. That's going to hurt his safety rating. Sorry, buddy. And that'll do it for this episode of Fix Setup Weekly. Thank you so much for checking it out. I hope that it helped you, and if it did, remember, help me out. Leave a thumbs up on the video and a comment down below. Give me your thoughts on this week, what you're looking forward to, what you're going to be staying far away from. And just remember, get your oval racing in now, because next week, A Fixed, B Fixed, and C Fixed are all at Watkins Glen. ARCA is at Southern National Motorsport Park, so at least there's that. And one more important thing to note, I will be out of town this week, which means next week's episode for week 8 will be a bit delayed. It'll have to wait until I get back into town. But as soon as I get back into town, I'll get to work on that video and get that out as soon as I can. I think it's actually good timing because I believe most of you probably are going to be staying away from the road course racing, but I know a lot of you are going to want that information for ARCA at Southern National, so I'll get to work on that and get that out as quickly as possible. It just might be a bit delayed, maybe Tuesday or even early Wednesday, so just stay with me. I appreciate your patience, and we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, have a great week of racing.